Alright guys, so there's a brand new monster in the OCG that's actually making a really significant impact on their metagame, but no one's really talking about it, and I think when this card eventually drops into TCG, it's going to be really insane. Yugioh, the Lightless Shadow, is a brand new semi-generic Link 4 monster coming out in Supreme Darkness, the set that's dropping in a couple of months' time. This monster requires 2 or more monsters, including a Fiend monster to link up into, and it actually has a crazy effect. So during the main phase, quick effect, you can discard a card to activate one of these effects. You can destroy a card on the field, non-targeting by the way, or you can actually banish this card until the end phase, and if you do, special summon a light or dark monster from your graveyard. So it's almost like a mini SP Little Knight that can run away while also resurrecting a light or dark monster from your graveyard. Alternatively, you can just disrupt your opponent by popping a card on the field, non-targeting. But the crazier part is that during your standby phase, you can actually draw cards equal to the number of different types among the monsters in your graveyard, then place the same number of cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is like a mini Phantasme that allows you to sculpt your hand based on whatever you have in your graveyard, and you can obviously protect it pretty easily by running away with its effects. So you discard a card, it runs away, it banishes itself. There's not really anything in the metagame that can interact easily with banished monsters. Like you guys can see in SP Little Knight, when it banishes something, it just stays there until the end phase, right? So it's similar to this card, it comes back, and then during the standby phase, you can sculpt your hand. So it has the utility of either running away, providing some follow-up by bringing something back, or maybe even disruption. Like this card can revive floodgates like Yugioh, which is kind of nutty to think about. Now, Yugioh is actually based on a legendary Malay creature, and the lore actually goes something like this. So Yugioh lives on the steps of the Tower of Victory, and it actually waits for a man brave enough to climb up that tower, and it tests them by casting a shadow over them to see if they can actually progress all the way to the peak of the tower. So I guess that's why it's called the Lightless Shadow, which is kind of a play on that actual lore. And obviously the reason why I'm bringing this up is that in the OCG, there are a couple of Fiend strategies that are actually really powerful. So obviously we know that the Fiendsmith stuff is the best Fiend engine currently in the game because you can just spam the board with a bunch of bodies really easily off of like one Fiendsmith Engraver or like a Lacrima. You can basically get a Link 4 on the table. So this is part of the reason why I think it's going to see a resurgence in play, the Fiendsmith engine in the TCG when the card does drop. Now, unfortunately in the TCG, we do not have Fiendsmith Lacrima. So this card is currently banned in the TCG, but legal in the OCG. Part of the reason why this engine's so good, but still I think we have Aerial Eaters, so there's probably a way to manipulate it to get enough bodies on the board. And guys, I want to take a quick second to highlight today's sponsor of the day, Into the AM. They're actually having their largest sale of the year, and you can enjoy up to 60% off starting this November 13th all the way until December 8th. And best of all, if you use my link below, you can get an additional 10% off. Honestly, if you guys want to replace your wardrobe, if you're going to locals or larger tournaments, this is a perfect time to do it, as well as getting holiday gifts for yourself or for, you know, your friends and family. Personally, I'm a big fan of their graphic tees. They've got a lot of crazy graphics that just look really good, but they also have some basic outerwear as well, so you can get some pants that are really comfy and stretchy. So definitely go check that out. Again, you can use my link below in the description for an additional 10% off, or use the code SQUIDDIES. Guys, go check out intotheam.com right now for their largest sale of the year. Now, the other crazy part about this card is that it makes a lot of Fiend strategies actually a lot stronger than they previously were. So obviously, Yugioh is the premier Fiend strategy that relies on a lot of Fiend monsters. This is like the perfect end board piece for that deck. And then there's other options like Unchained. So that kind of fell out of the metagame ever since Shavar got hit, but recently a lot of players have been experimenting with things like Magical Musketeer. It got top 8 at YCS Ecuador about a week ago, so that's kind of nutty to think about that deck can actually play this. And then of course Goblin Bikers are actually really powerful after this card drops. So in the OCG, Goblin Bikers are apparently winning tournaments even with decks like Yugioh or Snake Eyes still in the metagame. So the Goblin Bikers are actually getting a huge boost off of one single tour guide, which is like the premium Fiend starter now, it seems. You can actually make a huge board using Goblin Bikers, as well as, I'm sure, like in Unchained, you could probably splash in tour guide as well and just play like you used to. Overall, I think this card is really insane, so I wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. I mean, I think it's especially going to be good in the TCG because we're kind of a slower paced metagame. Obviously, there are no cards like Maxi in the format, but also the fact is the best Link 4 in the game, Appaloosa, is currently banned in the TCG, but not in the OCG. So we're going to be looking for something to Link climb into in a lot of decks. That's why Fiendsmith have kind of fallen out of favor, because there's nothing really good to go into now with Lacrima banned and Appaloosa banned, but this card kind of fills that role and allows you to have some premium disruption that's non-targeting or some insane follow-up. So this card by itself actually allowed a team of 3 Goblin Biker players to dominate a tournament in Tokyo that comprised of some of the best decks, including Yugioh and Malice. So guys, here is an example of the Goblin Biker combo you can do off of one single card. All you need is 2 level 3 bodies bodies, and you basically have full combo. But off of one single tour guide, you can create a pretty nasty board. So we're going to normal out tour guide, summon out Goblin Biker Mean Merciless. This card can bring itself back from the graveyard later by detaching a Xyz material from the field. So being an Xyz deck, we're going to go to our Big Gabonga. This is our main Goblin Biker who allows you to search for any Goblin Biker monster from your deck when he's summoned. So we'll go for Dug Charger. All of the main monsters in the Goblin Biker archetype can detach an Xyz material from either side of the field to summon themselves out. So if you're playing against like Purely, you just auto win. But anyways, in this case, we'll detach from Big Gabonga. We'll summon out the Dug Charger, then use his effect to add a copy of Goblin Biker Grand Breakout. So this is an E-Tele for goblins by attributing any monster that you control. Then we're going to go off and link into our Moon of the Closed Heaven, which is the first piece into the Fiendsmith stuff. So yeah, being a Fiend deck, you have to go off into the Fiend combos because Fiendsmith is just amazing to get a bunch of bodies onto the board. Lacrima will foolish a copy of Fiendsmith Engraver. Then we can bring that back using his own effect. Link off into a copy of Sequence. So this is where it differs, obviously, in the OCG and the TCG, because in the OCG, they still have Lacrima, the fusion monster. They can still go into that. But in the TCG, we have other options, like maybe going into Aerial Eater. If you guys have an idea of how we can adapt the combo, let me know in the comments below. But again, I just wanted to show you guys what they're doing in the OCG for inspiration. So we're going to activate Sequence, shuffle back 2 monsters to go off into Lacrima, then bring back the Engraver. Now from here, 2 level 6s on the board. You're going to overlay not into Caesar, but into Goblin's Crazy Beast. This has a quick effect where you can detach 2 materials from any monsters you control, or on the field rather, and then attach a spell trap on the field to them. So he's pseudo disruption for like field spells, for continuous spells, and also once in the graveyard, once per duel, you can actually bring it back and also attach a goblin monster from your graveyard to it as material. So this is basically 2 bodies rolled into one. Very nice for spamming. Now we're going to bring back the Mean the Merciless, which we talked about earlier, by detaching a material. So now we can obviously start link climbing. You can go to Abao AQ directly, but otherwise you could also go to Fiendsmith Agnum Days. So this can bring itself back during your opponent's turn. Just another nice little piece to have in the graveyard for recursion. And why not? You're link climbing, so might as well. Then from here, we're going to banish the Merciless because his own effect, when you bring it back, you have to banish it. Go off into Abao AQ, the Lightless Shadow. So again, this card can actually be activated during your main phase to discard a card. So we're going to have to discard another card in our hand. So pretend that, you know, we had another card in our hand, obviously starting with 5, discard 1, banish it. But when he's banished, you can actually bring back a light or dark monster from your graveyard. So we can bring back any monster, doesn't matter, because we're going to tribute it off right away with Goblin Biker Grand Breakout to summon out our Goblin Bikers Gone Wild. This card is insane. When this card's summoned, you can special summon a level 4 or lower goblin monster directly from your deck. So in this case, we're going to go for Goblin Biker Clatter Sploder. This monster allows you to basically special back 1 goblin monster in your graveyard when he's normal or special summoned. Also, he has a really nice grave effect. During your opponent's main phase, you can detach an Xyz material from a monster on the field and special summon it back. And then, you know, get the effect to summon something back on your opponent's turn, get a bunch of insane follow-up. So we're going to bring back the Goblin Biker Big Gabonga, and now we're going to link off into IP Masquerena. So now we have a disruption in the form of IP, but we're not done yet. In the graveyard, remember how we mentioned the Goblin's Crazy Beast can come back? Well, we're going to do exactly that. We'll bring back the Goblin's Crazy Beast and then attach a copy of Goblin Bikers Gone Wild to him. And then from here, we can go ahead and effectively pass our turn. Now, this looks pretty innocuous, but remember that Abao AQ comes back, and during our opponent's turn, you can discard a card to actually destroy a card on the field as well. So what happens is we actually get a lot of disruptions. During the end phase, Big Gabonga has another effect that allows you to attach a material from your deck directly to himself. So we're going to attach a Goblin Biker, and then during our opponent's turn, what's going to happen is if they play a card, we can use the effect of Clatter Sploder to special itself back by detaching a material from Big Gabonga. And Big Gabonga actually has another effect. It says if a material is detached from a monster on the field, you can actually target a face-up monster on the field, attach it to this card as material. So let's say our opponent normal summon a monster. Well, we can now activate the effect of Clatter Sploder, and then on a new chain, Clatter Sploder is going to use the effect to resurrect a Goblin Biker monster from our graveyard, but we're also going to chain Big Gabonga to attach that opponent's monster. So that's the first form of disruption. So we attach something to him, pretend he has a material, then we can bring back Dug Charger. Dug Charger can trigger to add another Goblin Biker spell trap from our deck to our hand for either follow-up or to fulfill the discard cost for Abao AQ. So Goblin Biker Grand Entrance, this is a Rhoda for goblins, but also in the graveyard, you can banish it, target a Xyz monster you control, detach a material from it, and then add a goblin monster from your graveyard to your hand. So this is really nice because if we discard it off Abao AQ, we can actually use it during our turn for follow-up by detaching a material, adding it back to our hand, right? So This is really, really cool. We just attached something with Big Wabonga. That's one disruption, and we're not even close to being done yet. We have another disruption in the form of Goblin's Crazy Beast. Let's say our opponent's playing Tenpai. They activate the second summoning. Well, we can use Crazy Beast to detach its own material and also the material that we attached for Goblin Big Wabonga from our opponent's side of the field. So detach to attach their continuous spell to him. And then in a new chain, Goblin Biker's Gone Wild, when sent to the graveyard, you can actually activate this effect, and it actually allows you to target a card on the field, attach it to a Goblin XYZ monster you control. So this is another disruption. Let's say our opponent had another card on the field. We can now attach it to either Goblin's Crazy Beast, or we can attach it to the Goblin Biker Big Wabonga. So that's already 3 separate disruptions. Now, we also have the Abao AQ, as we previously talked about. So after attaching, we can use this to pop something, or if we want, we can just banish it, bring something back. We have a lot of things to bring back from our graveyard. Let's say like they somehow cleared our board. We can actually bring back the Goblin Biker's Gone Wild, trigger that effect to summon out another Goblin Biker for a lot of follow-up. Obviously, you also have Agnum's Day if you decide to play it. You can use that to bring back like a Fiendsmith Engraver, so you have some mad follow-up. And then, of course, we also have the effect of IP Masquerena to go off into SP to banish something and then use the other banish effect on the field. So that's 2 disruptions, plus the Abao Q, that's 3 disruptions, plus the attachment effect of Goblin Biker's Gone Wild, that's 4, plus the Big Wabonga attach, that's 5, and then plus the Crazy Beast attach on the field, that's 6 disruptions off of one single tour guide, and we're getting insane follow-up. We have, I believe, 3 or 4 cards still in our hand as well on top of all of this. So this is actually an insane combo if you think about it, made possible thanks to Abao AQ's effect during our turn to bring back a body, and then during our opponent's turn to disrupt the board. So you can kind of see how crazy this monster is. And of course, during our standby phase, if it lives, then we get to actually fix our hand by drawing a bunch of cards and then putting back cards. So we do have a Cybers monster, we have a Fiend, we have a Beast Warrior, right? We can draw 3 cards, put back 3, fix our hand, and get exactly the resources we need to actually win the game. So guys, what do you think about the Abao Q? Do you think this is going to be a huge card in the TCG metagame? Let me know in the comments below, because I think this card is going to be really, really powerful. Other than that, smash that like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Bye-bye.